We have an exclusive look today at a formidable group of legal experts contesting the claim of full immunity made by former President Trump. Get comfortable, as we will be revealing the specifics of the disputes, the main participants, and the reasons behind this case's polarizing impact. Ty Cobb, a former White House attorney, provided insight into the legal dispute that resulted in Trump's dismissal in a recent interview. Immunity defense. Please click the subscribe box and enable notifications to begin receiving daily breaking news before I proceed. I am grateful. Following the public release of a criminal indictment in Washington, D.C., connected to Trump's effort to void the results of the 2020 election, the interview took place immediately. As the discussion delves into an aspirational defense, the legal dispute takes an interesting turn. Is this a speech of desire, or is it an action? This takes us to the crux of the issue, the difference between action and speech. In the present day, a strong coalition of influential lawyers has united to submit an amicus brief that contests Trump's claim of total immunity. With prominent members from both political parties, this friend of the court brief seeks to influence the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. Let's examine the legal arsenal that this brief possesses. This lineup is drawing attention, featuring George Conway, assistant counsel to George W. Bush, and former White House attorney Ty Cobb. Not all of these are Democrats. The fact that they are well-known individuals from both parties emphasizes the argument's impartiality. What defense are these law-abiding titans making, then? It is similar to the two-step analysis we have been talking about on legal aid. First, they contend that the text, history, and structure of the Constitution do not justify total presidential immunity for former presidents. Secondly, even in the event that there is limited immunity, Trump's purported actions are outside the bounds of what is acceptable. The amicus brief highlights how Trump's conduct poses a specific constitutional harm, drawing parallels with the recent Blazing Game case. The amicus brief highlights the risk of a chief executive abusing their position to circumvent the executive vesting clause and unlawfully extending their time in office. The dispute is over how the people's protests at the polls could weaken a vital constitutional check. The amicus brief emphasizes how crucial it is for the people to have the ability to voice their disapproval at the polls, which serves as a constitutional check on presidential wrongdoing. It gives a clear picture of the risks involved. When a former president attempts to use their position of authority to extend their stay in office, it directly questions the democratic foundation of the United States. Now more than ever, it is crucial to inform and involve the public. Distribute this film, strike up a discussion, and promote thought on the values that guide our country. These kinds of legal conflicts happen outside of courtrooms. They have an effect on every citizen in our democracy. This extraordinary alliance of legal experts is evidence of the larger problem at hand. It goes beyond a simple ideological conflict in politics. It is a defense of the fundamental ideas that keep the rule of law in place. Former Republican leaders see their Democratic colleagues standing side by side as a sign of their common commitment to preserving the democratic fabric of the country. Maintaining the integrity of the Constitution during the course of the legal dispute is crucial. This powerful group's arguments emphasize that no one should be exempt from accountability, regardless of their past beliefs, for deeds that put the democratic process in danger. The court's decision is not influenced by an amicus brief, but the significance of this group's combined legal knowledge cannot be overstated. These arguments carry significant weight in court, especially when authored by reputable individuals experienced in navigating the complexities of presidential authority. This amicus brief has an effect outside of the courtroom as well. It influences public opinion and molds the story around the case. The points made in the amicus brief essentially represent the core of American democracy, and they are at stake in this case in addition to Trump's legal status. Make a distinct division between the president's authorities. Also to the possible misuse of those authorities to sabotage the democratic process. One thing is for certain while we wait for the court's ruling. Political affiliations are not relevant in this judicial struggle. It's a struggle for the nation's soul, a declaration that every person, no matter how strong, is equal before the law. We will be here to help you understand the nuances of the constantly changing legal landscape and to keep you updated. We are grateful that you are traveling with us through the complexities of the law. About the challenge of Trump immunity. Please forward this breakdown to your colleagues if you think it's interesting, and let's continue the discussion. Get more in-depth legal analysis by subscribing, and never forget that knowledge is your most potent weapon in the fight for justice. Donald Trump is ramping up his rhetoric about being a fascist dictator for a variety of reasons. He even boasts on social media that the terms dictator and revenge are the most often used to characterize him. It's a political ploy to win over Republican primary voters who want to rid the nation of things they find repugnant, like jazz dancers who tap dance. It's a pitiful attempt to make his opponents think that he is unstoppable and that they should give up on him. In addition, it poses a danger to disciplining other Republicans. Thus, they refrain from supporting challenges from those who are not under 91 felony accusations. That's an attempt to cover up the fact that he stinks like a, though. In reference to Trump's smell, former Republican Representative Adam Kinzinger of Illinois remarked, "Take armpits, ketchup, and makeup and put that all in a blender." To be sure, it's a visceral description, but it's also beautiful in that everyone recognizes it as accurate right away. Because of his narcissism, Trump thinks he already knows everything and doesn't need to learn using the same reasoning that he probably imagines. He has never claimed the need for regular cleaning of his body. In addition, he spends hours sitting motionless while his elaborate hair and cosmetics are restored, all the while staring at his flaws in the nude mirror during every shower. We are all aware of his feelings about that. I'm guessing he skips a good number. Furthermore, Trump is aware that all you can see of him on video is his depressing orange face and not his aroma. Trump does not believe in God, but his aggressiveness and adept image management are stronger than any obstacle. What are my thoughts on this matter? Kindly share your thoughts and opinions in the comments section. Let's discuss democracy, body odor, and the issue of people recognizing that he struggles with reading. The previous attempt to abolish democracy was unsuccessful due to these reasons. Trump is announcing his candidacy for president once more, this time as a fascist. Trump and his supporters believe that they can suppress the January 6th rebellion through sheer force of will, primarily demonstrated through bombast and volume, and supported by the threat of violence. To find out if this paper tiger can become a real one, we have 11 months. It makes sense that people should be afraid, but it's also important to consider 2023 in retrospect. The moment the legal system began to hold Trump accountable. Furthermore, this includes his fellow rebels. Even though there have often been setbacks and delays, there is cause for optimism. The courtroom has largely removed the gigantic insurrectionists' chest-thumping theatrics, slowly exposing the foul-smelling, overly compensating males and a few women beneath. Pundits and leftists alike are unable to take their eyes off the polls, which show that Trump is marginally leading President Joe Biden. It hasn't yet dawned on Trump what it means to be facing 91 felony indictments in 4 separate courtrooms. Why? I'm still waiting for one big event, some sort of political coup that will depose Trump. One would think none of this mattered because he's still spouting grammatical hot air on social truth while his minions faint from cultish bliss. But Trump's increasingly ear-piercing decibel levels of whining show that he is terrified. His attorneys are always bringing up absurd points, such as the fact that trying to pull off a coup is an official presidential job. They don't adopt the long-shot approach because they are overconfident. It's most likely because they are aware of the overwhelming evidence of Trump's culpability and are prepared to take all necessary steps to prevent a jury from seeing it. In fact, the last year has been filled with tales of how Trump and his cronies always end up in the wrong when they have to appear in court. Despite his constant boasts that he could easily beat East Jean Carroll in court, Trump was found guilty of defaming and sexually abusing her. His tirade had no effect on the judge's decision to find the Trump Organization guilty of fraud. The verdict is anticipated to be astounding when it is released next month. Removing their lies and theatrics reveals that the insurrectionists perform poorly in court, as demonstrated by numerous instances related to the attempted coup and the January 6th rebellion. This year, the high-profile cases, including the leadership of the Oath Keepers, finally began to approach resolution. Sentencing ranged from 3 to 18 years for members of the far-right militia that helped to design the storming of the city. Sentences for the Proud Boys, who followed Trump's directive to back off and wait, could reach 22 years. But it was more than just the sentences. These 2 gangs' trials made clear the losses concealed beneath all the rhetoric of action movies and camouflage gear. 2 things could, in fact, be true. These guys were not just pitiful attempt hards trying to hide their numerous personal failings, but they also posed a real threat to democracy. The Georgia case tells the same story. Fulton County District Attorney Willis put pressure on her to indict Trump and 18 other defendants for trying to rig the 2020 election. Although some of them tried to present themselves as ACT supervillains in their mug photographs, it was evident to anyone that most of them were simply privileged country club types who got caught up in the criminal scheme. As expected, the guilty pleas began to come in. Particularly amusing was Trump's attorney, Jenna Ellis, who blubbered in self-pity and acknowledged that she had no idea things would turn out so horribly for her. She simply found it cool to track Rudy Giuliani's seditious schemes. Regarding Giuliani, it appears that the most pitiful man in politics is always capable of hitting new lows. At the end of the year, it was revealed that he owes $148 million after losing a defamation case brought by 2 Georgia election workers he randomly chose and falsely accused of sabotaging Biden's 2020 campaign. Giuliani retaliated by disparaging the women once more, presumably following in the footsteps of his idol, Donald Trump, who similarly feels that the best way to succeed is to never acknowledge loss or failure, but to persist in breaking the law until all attempts to stop you are futile. However, Giuliani has long demonstrated the weakness of the never let them see you sweat tactic. Even so, there are instances when perspiration still comes out and leaves your face stained with long, black hair dye streaks. Even though people can't smell you through the camera, they are still compelled to imagine it due to your sallow yet shiny skin tone and rambling speech pattern. Giuliani's blustery demeanor can't help but make our subconscious imagine what he must smell like. My imagination always wanders back to the gutters of Bourbon Street during Mardi Gras or to a Midtown Manhattan subway platform early on New Year's Day. Let us know what you think in the comments section below while you wait. Please give us a thumbs up if you thought this video was insightful. Trump is in trouble because he is facing another lawsuit that has the potential to destroy his life and career. Trump got the worst news anyone could hope for on such a momentous day as New Year's Eve. I'll go over everything in detail in this little video. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed to our channel before I get started with this video. I'm grateful. On New Year's Eve, Special Counsel Jack Smith asked a federal appeals court to reject former President Donald Trump's plea for immunity from prosecution, drawing the former president into a legal struggle. According to Newsweek's report on Sunday, December 31, 2023, the accusations stem from Trump's alleged attempts to alter the 2020 election results, leading to deadly riots in the nation's capital on January 6, 2021. Trump's legal team argues that he cannot be prosecuted for conduct he took while serving as president because he is no longer in office. They also emphasized the Senate's acquittal of him following his impeachment. In a recent brief submitted to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit, prosecutors argued that such claims for immunity pose a threat to the nation's democratic and constitutional underpinnings. The prosecution summary draws attention to the precarious balance that exists between presidential authority and criminal responsibility. Extensive claims of immunity for the accused run the risk of enabling presidents to commit crimes and still hold office, rather than upholding our constitutional structure. Prosecutors claimed that the founders would never have approved of such a result. The legal procedures greatly affect Trump's political future as the current frontrunner for the Republican presidential nomination in 2024. The prosecution is requesting a prompt decision regarding Trump's immunity in order to maintain the March 4 trial date. The drawn-out appeals procedure can be expedited to minimize any wait time. Trump's political ambitions might make the lawsuit last until after the 2024 election. Former federal prosecutor Andrew Weissmann stated that Smith's case was geared toward high court review and that it would be heard by the Supreme Court. Weissmann emphasized the case's relevance to Supreme Court deliberations by citing a previous instance in which Trump asserted he would not be secure after becoming president. A president taking bribes, directing government contracts for personal benefit, directing the FBI to capture political rivals, directing violence against opponents, or selling nuclear secrets to adversaries abroad are a few examples of these possibilities. The document also makes reference to earlier accusations made against Trump, such as the assertion that he disclosed secret material at his Mar-a-Lago club. Smith also charged Trump with unlawfully keeping sensitive papers, which adds to the legal complexities and highlights the need for a special counsel. Smith has made a clear plea for the court to make a decision swiftly, which will affect the trial schedule. In the meantime, Americans clarify that stopping Trump before the election is the only viable option. On Sunday, December 31, 2023, Raw Story revealed that rapper Debbie Dingell, Michigan, shared details of her personal encounter with what she claimed to be harassment by former President Donald Trump. Dingell, the late wife of former rapper John Dingell, was her husband's successor in Congress. Disclosed her response to Trump's verbal assault, highlighting the necessity of taking action in the face of such conduct. Dingell observed that one of Trump's frequent displays of cruelty is his use of nasty language to disparage his opponents. Dingell highlighted the emotional toll of such attacks, recalling a particularly painful episode where Trump said that her late husband was in hell following his first impeachment vote. Dingell added, "That's the Trump way, cruelty, but knowing that doesn't make it any less painful. Because we are humans. He takes pleasure in knowing that." Dingell noted that he was reluctant to confront Trump but stressed the significance of not normalizing or supporting hate speech. She declared that we had to speak out against indignation and confront the oppressors in this nation. Dingell has strong opinions about how to deal with bullies. He says, "I think the only way to stop bullies is to keep defending them and criticizing their unacceptable behavior. Defend the people they decide to attack. I sincerely appreciate you staying until the very end." Please share your thoughts about this news with us in the comments below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. See you in the upcoming news. America, God bless you. Goodbye.